What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Age of Quarantine. My name is Chris Enriquez. I'm your host. And I just want to start by saying, obviously, I'm wearing a Power Trip shirt. So, first of all, rest in peace, Riley Gale. We miss you, man. This year has been a tough one, huh? And then we lost so many people. Rest in peace, Eddie Van Halen. I've been listening to Van Halen ever since I heard the news yesterday. Unbelievable. Looks like we got, okay, bear with me, everybody. Scott Vogel from Terror is my guest tonight, and we are getting a text message from him. He's just trying to figure out how to join the live stream. Let me, watch the live stream. While we're just waiting for him to send in his request to join us, let me just talk a little bit about our guest. Scott is the lead singer of Terror, an amazing, legendary hardcore band. They've been coming up on 20 years now, so I think legendary makes sense for them. And wow, time flies. I remember when they were a new band. He started out in the Buffalo hardcore scene before he moved out to Los Angeles, and he was singing in Slugfest and Despair, which we'll talk to him about his past and how all of his bands got started, how he got into hardcore and singing in bands. And then more recently, he joined a band called World Be Free, featuring members of Strife, Youth of Today, Judge, an amazing cast of characters. And shout out to Sammy Siegler from Revelation Records and from Judge and Youth of Today and Civ, and you know the list of bands he's been in, for making this happen. He linked me up with Scott and a lot of my other guests. They have a new record coming out soon. Pre-orders went live today. In fact, Revolver Magazine, where I work, we have a exclusive version of that record, so check that out. And I just heard some songs off the new record. It's fucking awesome, and I can't wait for you guys to hear it. But with that all being said, I'm going to try to get Scott on the screen right now. There he is. Okay, Scott. Right, and we're going to get you on the screen momentarily as the internet kind of works its magic. Hey, what's up, Scott?
Can you hear me? Can you
I
see
can
me?
hear
Can
you.
you hear me? Oh,
Yes, sir.
I just went into panic mode.
I'm sorry about that, man. I'm glad that you sent me a text message. How you doing?
Doing good.
Awesome, man. Awesome. I appreciate you making time to do this tonight. And it looks like we got an audience. So I just want to start by welcoming you all to another episode of Age of Quarantine here on the St. Vitus channel. Our guest tonight is Scott Vogel, the vocalist from Terror. Everybody, thank you for joining us on this Wednesday. We've had some great guests, and if you ever want to watch past episodes, they are all on YouTube or right here on the St. Vitus channel. Scott, I wanted to start by saying congrats. We were just talking about World Be Free. The new record pre-orders went up today. I saw a video that's not out yet, and it was great. So yeah, man, you must be pumped to get some music out right now.
Yes, for sure on that one, because that record was recorded a while ago, and I love World Be Free very much. And it's really cool for me to do something a little bit different. All the other bands I've ever been in my life are like mosh, 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 crazy, crazy, crazy. So I've got my phone stuffed in a cup. I'm trying to find the right spot. I'm very DIY. And I'm also, I'll get back to World Be Free in a minute, but I'm in the mountains. Yesterday was my girlfriend's birthday, so I'm in kind of, if anyone knows LA, kind of near Big Bear. So I'm up in the mountains. This is the farthest I've been away from Los Angeles in about 6 months. So, but I go back tomorrow, so the fun's over. But
Wow.
yeah, with World Be Free, it's really hard with everybody's schedule, and then you know, everyone's schedule is really hard to deal with, and very everyone's very opinionated. So sometimes when we finally get stuff to happen, like getting the first record that came out years ago done was took a while, and for me to figure out what I could do with my voice and couldn't, because it's so different from me. But Yeah, and this record's been recorded, I don't know, I want to say for over 8 months, maybe. That's a guess. And with pressing plants now too, it takes a little while. So I'm just glad it's finally coming out. It took a while, and yeah, exciting. And I love that first song that we put out today, Acceptance. That's like that was a song when I was kind of like, I don't know if I want to do any more World Be Free stuff. It's such a headache. When I heard those guys wrote that song without me, I wasn't anywhere. I don't even think I was in the country, and they sent it to me, and I was like, oh, this is fucking great. I'm gonna adjust because the sun's in my eyes.
Hey, no worries. Yeah, man, that song is fantastic. That premiered today, and I heard a preview from Sammy and saw a video that will be released soon, and it's great. I'm just glad that I wasn't sure if it was a one-off thing, and like you said, it's very different for you vocally. You can tell it's you, but it's interesting to see and hear you doing something a little more melodic and not as brutal per se.
Yeah,
So that's going to be a fun challenge.
you know it's funny too when I remember when I thought of the band. I was hiking in California by myself, and I think I was listening to Gorilla Biscuits or Dag Nasty, and I was like, I've never done anything like this. I just want to do something different, and I thought in my head that somehow my voice would be higher and more prettier if I tried, but it's just that's just where it goes. I don't know if it's years of screaming or my voice is just too low or whatever, but that's like the prettiest I can get it.
Right, right. I mean, hey, it's still a hardcore band. You know what I mean? Like you said, like people. I'm like kind of. I guess you could call me middle aged. I'm going to be 40 in a few months. But I remember back in the day. They just lumped everything together. You would hear, anything from melodic punk stuff to, something like Agnostic Front. I mean, it was all hardcore at the end of the day. Whether you're talking about Dag Nasty or AF or something like that. So it's all the same world, Makes total sense. And it's cool that you're bringing it back. I think that younger kids, not saying that they don't know what's up, but it's cool to just give them a little bit of a reminder that, like, punk rock is where it came from,
Yeah, I think too, a lot of people might think that I sit around and listen to Madball and Hatebreed all day long, 24 hours a day. Which, don't get me wrong, I love both those bands, but I listen more than anything like Lifetime and Hot Water Music and Texas the Reason. Those are like my go-to daily stuff I listen to. So again, I do not have the voice to do something that melodic, but this was the closest I could get.
Yeah, man. I'm going off script a little bit because I was going to talk about World Be. I want to save the story about how World Be Free came to be for a little bit later on in the interview, because I want to start with where you came from. But before we step off that, you just mentioned Texas is the Reason. Shout out to Garrett, a good friend. Were you guys boys back in the Buffalo days?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I can remember, I think when I first met Garrett, he had an X shaved in the back of his head, total 100% hardcore kid, total skater too. And in my high school, besides me and my brother, there was one other hardcore kid named Joe Luca. And him and Garrett, man, my memory's so bad, but I think they were maybe friends before. So Garrett was someone, I'd see all the time. I'd be at his house all the time. Admired his musical skill, his old bands, my old bands, played with all of them. I have old videos of my old bands with him, like moshing, and vice versa. And then when he, I think if I have it correct, he went down and started living with or was hanging out with the guys in Split Lip from Indiana, which is a band I totally love.
Oh yeah, they were great.
Yes.
Chamberlain, right? Yeah.
Yes. And then from there, he ended up in New York, and Texas the Reason. And I was like, holy shit, this motherfucker's doing it. Because that first 7-inch, when I heard it, I was like blown away. Probably listened to it 5 times a day, and I still listen to it all the time.
Same here, man. One of my favorite bands. I love that. So cool. I just had to ask about that because I'm here in New York City, so I know all those guys, and I always get fascinated about all the sort of like incestuous things that happen in the scene. you know, when you think Terror, the last thing you think is Texas is the reason. But here you are talking about how you guys grew up together. It's fantastic.
Speaking of Garrett, on our record, we have a guest part by Chuck Reagan of Hot Water Music. And Garrett was the first person I thought of. I wanted him to sing on it. And I sent him, I just texted him, and he gave me like a lukewarm response. Like I know how I am when it's something I don't really want to do or I'm just not in that zone. He's like, yeah, I'll check it out. I was like, So I moved on and would have loved to have Garrett, but Hot Water Music's my favorite band ever, so it was cool to get Chuck. But
Yeah.
another funny thing about Garrett, just thinking about it, and like how small the world is and stuff. I didn't see him for a good, I don't know, I want to say 20 years, 15 years, something like that. And I think through Instagram, we just started talking again and hanging out. And one of the Black and Blue Bowls in New York, he came and we hung out and partied and stuff. And then just coincidentally, it feels like about 4 years ago now, but that could be off. We were, Terror was in France, and he was over there with his solo shit touring. And we were in the same city on the same night. And I think he was playing the next day, so we were gone, but he showed up to our show, and we're just like, you know, it was like a really cool Terror show at like small place, maybe 200-300 kids packed and really cool. And he got to see that. And I was like, oh, it's so crazy. We're still doing this. Like, I don't know.
Fuck yeah.
30 years later, it's fucking insane.
I love that, man. I'm trying to get him on the show. I don't know if he changed his number, but I'm going to hit him up.
See, he's lukewarm. He's fucking putting the moves on everybody.
I know. What the fuck, man? Well, I wanted to ask you, though, you know, obviously you put out some music during the pandemic. Oh, shit. I promised I would mention this. I work at Revolver Magazine. Not only do we have exclusive, we have an exclusive version of the World Be Free full length that you can order today, but we also have limited edition Keepers of the Faith Terror records that we worked on with Pure Noise.
And you'll also be having me on the cover of your next issue because I'm.
We got to make it happen, man.
Just an amazing rocker on the cover of Revolver.
Fuck yeah, man! I love that. But yeah, so pick up Scott's records through us. We have a bunch of Terror and World Be Free stuff. How did this pandemic affect your schedule with your bands, and how have you been managing to get through all of this?
Man, it's a whole it's a whole new world every way. But for music, you know, obviously, like everyone else, we had a lot of stuff scheduled that just completely got canceled. And you know, it's really weird because I'm like the type of person that is like, in my phone I have a calendar with every day what I'm doing. I'm super over the top daily planner, and then I have like a life plan of all the things I need to get done, and I have a band plan, and it's like the whole thing is just like completely out the window. So this is like the first time in my life that I'm like, when are we playing again? I have no idea. And it's literally, the sun is just following me. It's literally, it's not even worth trying to like stress about it or make plans. Like, obviously we have like a booking agent and a manager, and you know, they'll come to me with these thoughts. Maybe you're going to play next February, and then it becomes March, and then it becomes April. And I'm just like, we're all ready when the time comes, but it's not even worth it to like get excited or get bummed or anything. So that's a scheduling thing, but monetarily, obviously, you know, we've got 5 people in the band that live off Terror. That's all we've done for the last 18, 19, maybe 20 years. And that's not good. I was getting unemployment. That was pretty fucking cool. On one hand, some of the stuff I'm mentioning, not traveling, not having a schedule, not having to worry about making sure we have merch, all the things that I stress about all the time are gone. So that's a beautiful thing. But at the same time, you know, we're still selling merch online, which anyone that's watching this bought anything, that's amazing. It really does help. And, you know, just money-wise, it hasn't been very easy. But I think hardcore kids are pretty resilient and figure out a way to get through things. We've all You know, I'm not saying you know, I'm on vacation right now, so my world isn't ending, but I've slept on plenty of floors. I've slept in vans. I've
Right.
eaten food I don't want to eat. You know, I know how to get by. So if worse comes to worse, I think I'll survive. Luckily, with touring so much, I don't have any children. I don't want to say that's a good thing, but for money right now, that's good. I live in a, like a one-bedroom apartment, so like I don't live this huge life where I have to pay for all these things. So
Yeah.
you know, the unemployment was great too. That was really helpful, but obviously that's over now. So yeah,
Yeah, no, it's a
that's
tough, it's a very tough time. I mean, we're talking to you on the Saint Vitus account. Which, oh shit, what's up? There's Garrett watching.
no way. We're just talking about you.
Garrett, we were just talking about you. Also, I've been text messaging you trying to get you on the show, man. Hit me back. There he is. We also, I just want to say we got some people tuning in from Mexico, and we got people from Argentina and Venezuela, all over the world, man. This is great. I love when this happens.
Very
And
cool.
you guys, like as he was saying, people, people are struggling all over. But you know what? If you want to support, if you all right, Garrett, well, you got to text me back, bro. We got Australia in the house too. If you want to support Terror and anything Scott's doing, now's the time, man. But like I was saying, we're on the St. Vitus Bar Instagram, and that's a music venue that has not been operating since all this shit went down. So this is kind of our effort to talk to artists like yourself and promote people who can't work. In addition to us, we've been raising money for the bar and for the venue and trying to give something back to the audience so they have entertainment every night. So it's a struggle, man. But what I want to do with this is like I kind of want to go into your backstory a little bit and talk about where you came from, because this is really just about telling your story. You're from Buffalo originally, which you talked about a bit. Can you talk about your earliest memories of getting into music, and then maybe you could transition to how you discovered underground music and why that meant something to you?
Sure. So you want me to go back as deep as when I first started liking any sort of music?
Yeah, like, because obviously, like, it's interesting, like how you at some point you must have been like, man, this means something to me more than just like background noise, like even before hardcore.
Yeah, for sure. I lived out like way out outside the city of Buffalo, like almost in the woods with my mom and my two sisters. And one real first record I ever bought was Kiss Alive 2 at a garage sale. And then a really big moment for me, my mom's boyfriend at the time gave me the first two Black Sabbath records on vinyl. I think maybe he could see I was a little twisted in the mind and thought I might like these. And I'm talking I was little. I'm a little
Yeah.
kid. And then from there, I can remember like buying Back in Black on vinyl, Pyromania, and then Scorpion, stuff like that. At the same time, my stepbrother, who my father married his mother after my mother and father got divorced. He one time he was listening to like Run DMC and Houdini, and he got me into that. So I'm listening to like real deal early hip hop, and then the hair metal shit came, like
Yeah, the '80s.
Motley Crue, Shout at the Devil, I Love, Too Fast for Love, Rat, Out of the Cellar, like all that stuff. So I'm doing all that stuff, and then eventually I moved in with my father, stepmother, and brother, and he was then on to like Dead Kennedys, Circle Jerks, all that punk stuff, which I didn't really fully resonate with, like the whole anarchy vibe, but
Right.
definitely was I was total jock too. I played every sport and super competitive. And I think when I saw like punk shows and stuff, the energy somehow in my warped brain, I could see the energy of a punk show and relate it to like how much when I played sports, how I was giving it my all.
Yeah,
And
like a football game or something.
something like that. Um, And then from there, Another State of Mind, the Social Distortion movie, was a big thing for me because Social Distortion was, I really liked Group Sex and Black Flag Damage, but there were some of the more real punk look stuff. I was not fully like on board with that because I was kind of a clean cut kid. And Another State of Mind, I remember because I was really into Mommy's Little Monster when they went and stayed with Minor Threat. It was like my brain just opened up like, oh shit, these guys have shaved heads and they're a little more collegiate and they're talking about being good instead of like fuck the world. They're like, let's help the world, and maybe that clicked with me. And I bought that Minor Threat record with I think it's Ian's Brothers on the Steps.
Yep.
Then from there, a friend gave me Warzone, Don't Forget the Struggle, like a dub cassette, and on the other side was AF Victim in Pain, and
that's it.
It's fucking.
Was that
later.
What year was like? Were you around for that first wave, or was that kind of like after the fact?
The first, I would say the first like punk show I went to was the Dead Milkmen. And this helps because I listened to my brother on a podcast and he's got a great memory. So, and then after that we saw DRI with Gangrene. And then after that, I would say my first real like more hardcore in my vein, I saw 7 Seconds with Buffalo's Zero Tolerance. And that was it. Like then after that, I didn't, my freshman year in high school, I played like football, basketball, blah, blah, blah. Sophomore year, I didn't play any sports ever again. I didn't care about anything. Any job I got was just so I could, get days off. Like any job I took, I made sure, like if I need days off, I'd make up a lie not to go see some crazy band called fucking the Dead Milkmen. But I would say I need days off, and as long as they said you can have days off when you need them, I would take the job and just work to get to shows. And
you were hooked.
Like
you were hooked on it. Yeah.
I was hooked.
Now
the hooks are still in me, I think.
Well, yeah, clearly, because like you said, Terror is coming up on 20 years. I think it's 18 years to be exact, if I'm not mistaken. You would know better than me, but it's coming up.
Fucking insane.
Unbelievable. We'll talk about that in a second, but I want to start with your first bands. So, like, how did you? Well, maybe let's do this. Talk about who some of your favorite vocalists were, who inspired you, and then let me know how you got started singing in bands with Slugfest.
Well, back then, I would say number one would be Mark Balenka, the singer of Zero Tolerance. If anybody that's into hardcore probably has that one band from their city that a lot of people don't know and never got their just due, but to you, they were like
the shit. Yeah.
The shit, and they really were, especially live.
I wanted to know about that, like Buffalo bands as well.
They were amazing, and to me, they were like, I would like look up to them like these are the coolest guys in the world. So that's one angle. But before Snapcase started, they had a band called Solid State, and Daryl, the singer of Snapcase, played bass in this band, and this kid Chris Gallus sang. So they were called Solid State, and Zero Tolerance was the band that I worshipped. Solid State was the band that was more like, I liked them, but they were more like in my peer group, and I didn't view them as like these untouchable gods. And their singer Chris Gallus was like this crazy frontman. He would go off on stage and just have this energy and was super cool. And I was just like, and I was friends with him, and I would be like, I could do that. I want to do that. So he was like the one that made me think I could do it. Mark Balenka was the one that made me think I want to do it, but I might not be good enough at it.
That's awesome to know about some, like, I know you're saying, like, I grew up in the Long Island hardcore scene, and that was, not very far from New York City, so we did get to see AF and Madball and all that stuff, but there were bands, obviously maybe you can relate being a New Yorker as well, but not in New York City proper, that we had our own local scene of bands that really meant a lot to us that may not be recognized on a bigger level.
This is definitely a different time period, but like Silent Majority.
Oh, that's my favorite. Yeah, hell yeah.
Well, that people in Long Island worship that band.
Silent Majority
And
was the shit.
they're great, but outside of Long Island, of course, people know who they are. Some people do, some people don't. But if you go to Long Island and you mention Silent Majority, you're going to get that same reaction.
Oh,
It's
God,
kind of the same thing.
Yeah. I wasn't even going to bother saying that because I wasn't sure if you knew who Silent Majority was.
I know. I was just listening to Tim from VOD on a podcast today, and you know, that's a band I've liked forever. So just hearing their whole backstory was kind of cool.
Oh yeah, VOD was another one for us, and actually St. Vitus is owned by Artie, who was in the band Mind Over Matters. So it's like all in that sort of family of Long Island. Trip Face.
Is that the same Artie that sang in Indecision at one point?
No, there was two Arties
Okay.
in Long Island, but yeah, but Artie from Indecision was on the show recently too. He's
Cool.
great.
Cool.
Yeah, but yeah, that's awesome, man. Zero tolerance.
I've never been to St. Vitus ever.
Dude, you got to calm down. I mean, I know it's a bold thing to say that it's like a new CBGBs because nothing will ever replace that. But, you know, we've had some great. Vinny Stigma celebrated his 60th birthday and did his birthday show here.
Very
and,
nice.
You know, we've had all the New York hardcore bands come down at some point.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of videos, and I feel like there was talks of World Be Free playing there one time, but it fell through. But I don't know.
Oh man, you would love it, man, because I know that you come from that old school scene, and here in New York, you know, when CB's was gone and all those places, this has been there, you know, so we're trying to keep it alive. So Slugfest, those were the vocalists that kind of inspired you. Talk about your first band and what that experience was like.
I was in a couple like more garage punk. I don't even know what you would call it. Bands with my brother, with me playing drums and he was playing bass or guitar, and that was just kind of playing battle of the bands, and sing, just maybe kind of from the two people I just described. And I don't even know if I cared about the singing part. I wanted to jump around. And, yeah, we started Slugfest, and it's really a bizarre story because if anyone knows, most people that know Slugfest, which, you know, isn't a ton, but they think of the end of the band, which was we had the drummer of Snapcase, Tim, before he left to be in Snapcase.
Great.
Yeah, amazing. And we were just like, you know, a straight up hardcore band by that point. But when the band started, it started with me and my brother, and we used to go to this venue, the River Rock Cafe, all the time in Buffalo. And we were there so much, we got to know the owner's son. So I would say an older guy owned the club, and his son ran it, did sound, booked everything. And somehow, one way or another, I think we said, you know, anyone that wants to start a band that plays drums? And he said, I'll play drums. So the first version of Slugfest was me, my brother, this man named John Radis, who owned the venue, his man friend. I'm guessing like me and my brother were 15, and these guys were, I don't even know, 28.
Okay.
I
see what you're saying.
we got our one friend from high school who was like not into hardcore, just was like into metal, like Rush and Iron Maiden and stuff like that. So that's the earliest Slugfest. And I remember like Frank Three Guns, who's now in Hatebreed, who at the time was in Confront in Cleveland. He's been in Integrity and was in Terror. He was in Terror for a year or two. He's one of my oldest friends. And you know, when you think of people from Cleveland, if you know like Integrity, Ringworm, Confront, One Love Crew, like they're like these mean, intimidating people that hate everybody. And these guys, they came to Buffalo and saw Slugfest, and we covered God of Thunder by Kiss. And everyone in Cleveland worships Kiss. So they saw this weird hardcore band, sort of hardcore band that I just described, cover Kiss, and I got in good with Cleveland like really early, which is kind of always been crazy to me.
Yeah, they had a great scene. I love watching a lot of the old shows on YouTube that, you know, real old Integrity videos and stuff like that. It's just fascinating because, you know, being in a place like New York City, it's like we're kind of spoiled. So like you're like wondering like what the fuck was going on in places outside of here in the middle of the country. We got some comments that I want to take from people, and Garrett says don't leave out Cinderblock, by the way. Ronaldo Oliveros. Hey, Scott, this is Ronaldo from Rock DNA, Music TV, supporting Terror always. I think that's a Filipino flag, but I could be wrong.
He lives in, I know him. He lives down in like Orlando, but he, I don't know if it's Filipino.
Oh, look, it's Venezuela is what he said.
Cool.
And then we got a lot of folks from we got Spain in the house. Was going to see Terror last March in Barcelona. Hopefully, we'll see you in 2021. Everybody's trying to see you guys.
We are the first tour back. We are talking about, and this is all so tentative, like I said, would be trying to do that same thing that we had planned in March for April of next year. So,
yeah,
maybe.
Let's hope so. And a shout out from Larry Ransom, formerly of Revelation Records. What up, Larry? How you doing, man? All right, cool.
He's a Buffalo all-star.
Oh, I love Larry. Yeah, he was an A&R. I was in a band back in the day on Rev that he was an A&R for.
Oh, nice.
So then you eventually did Despair, and then Buried Alive. I'm going to kind of bounce around a little bit. I don't want to like skip anything, but I want to get to a lot of Terror stuff and World Be Free. But so let's talk about Buried Alive, because that took up a lot of time of your music history, and you did put out a new record, which we'll get to. But when did Buried Alive come into the picture? And why did it end too? Because you guys were starting to get pretty popular. You signed a Victory. Maybe we could talk a little bit about that.
Sure. I got to go back to Despair real quick to get to Buried Alive.
Yeah.
Slugfest ended. Tim quit the band to be in Snapcase. I was bitter for a while. Now I don't care. Things happen, but I was like salty for sure. And Despair started just out of that, because there were so many bands in Buffalo that, bands at that time would be around for a demo, or maybe a demo in a 7-inch. And so there were a bunch of kids. We all would hang out, and they would skate, because I always sucked at skating, and we'd go watch each other's bands practice, and we'd go to Denny's and sit there and make zines till 3 a.m. And just eventually Despair started with people that just thought we could make some music together. That was the first time I went to Europe twice, and we toured. We did some cool tours, like with Brothers Keeper and Harvest, and
oh hell yeah,
Chokehold took us on tour. Snapcase took us on tour. I think that was to pay me back for killing the band, but I'm just joking. But we got out there. That was the first time. With Slugfest, we played we played Detroit and Syracuse and Rochester. With Despair, I actually came to we did our last tour. Maybe our last tour was like a whole summer. It was almost 6 or 7 weeks with Hatebreed. So I got to watch Hatebreed just with their demo and the Under the Knife 7-inch go out for 7 weeks and just watch them do their thing. And at the end of that, in California, in Southern California, Tony Victory flew out, signed Hatebreed, and asked Despair to do a 7-inch. So I was like on top of the world. Like we just got asked to be on Victory, which at the time was the biggest thing in the world.
People forget that. We should tell anybody watching. Like back in the, I thought it was weird when they became like a rock label. Personally, I liked some of that stuff, but yeah, Victory Records was a brutal fucking label. Strife, Snapcase, Earth Crisis, Integrity, Bloodlet. Like anyone watching who doesn't know that, like, man, it was a different fucking time back then for Victory. So I feel like it probably felt like an honor to be on a label like that.
Yeah, it was an honor, and then we went home and half the band quit, so that was the end of that 7-inch. Never happened. And so then that band broke up, and I was kind of like bummed, because I did 2 bands that I thought were pretty decent, and we got some momentum, and people would tell us they liked us, and we got to go to Europe, and all I cared about was playing shows, and they would just break up. So I was kind of like in this, I'm not doing another band mode. And the 3 dudes from Buried Alive, Jesse the drummer, Matt the guitarist, and Joe the bass player, they started this band. And whenever I have to tell this story once in a while, and it's funny what I'm about to say, because you couldn't get me to do this now for $100, but I would go watch them practice. Like, that's how much I liked music. I would sit there and watch them practice. And eventually, they asked me to be this singer, and I kept saying no because I just didn't want to do a band. I was like, oh, my bands break up, blah, 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 blah. Eventually, the music, it definitely, Buried Alive is a little bit more noisy and chaotic, and they use like different chords than straight up hardcore. It was a little different for me, but it was so powerful and it was so fast, and the songwriting and the whole thing, the drumming, it was all amazing. They eventually broke me down. I joined the band. We got Scott Sprigg, the second guitarist in the band. We made a demo. I sent it to Victory, and right away they said they wanted to do it just because I already had a relationship with them, and they wanted to do my last band, so they were quick to take this one on. And yeah, it was cool. It was a really cool time in hardcore. We played lots of shows with All Out War and Reach the Sky and Death Threat, and
man, that was a golden age for sure.
It was fucking great, and yeah, it was awesome.
I just we got a cool comment that I thought I'd share that I'm sure you'll appreciate from we'll take a break for a second and get to the audience. Irish Townie, love from Boston, Scott, because I know it's a funny name. Sending love from Boston, Scott. Because of Terror, I've been clean 10 years and back to my hardcore roots. Pretty cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, hardcore has had its ups and downs with me. It's sucked me into the dark side where you're given free liquor every night and you don't have too much responsibility. So at certain points, I've been like a piece of shit. And then at other points, it gives you this freedom to see things a different way and awesome lyrics and meeting people where you can just have a clear mind. So, I don't tell anybody what to do, but I just hope everyone's safe and take care of themselves, because I know sometimes when I drink day after day after day after day, it makes me not a good person to be around.
I know that vibe, man. I'm actually coming up on 2 years sober, so yeah. We got at King Steaks, the new Buried Alive is killer. Nice job on that, Scott, and props to Bridge 9. So now bring us up to speed, because Buried Alive comes back many years later and puts out Death Will Find You, a new EP on Bridge 9. People seem to be stoked on that. How did that happen?
Again, Buried Alive did some stuff, and just when we were getting some good momentum, our drummer quit, and we got a different drummer, Kevin, and we kept going. And to make a long story short, people just grew apart. People had different ideas of what to do with the band, and basically, I quit the band and moved to California, and I was done with music. It was, again, I mean, I take a lot of blame for this stuff. I wasn't the easiest person to be in a band with. I thought I knew everything and was a hothead and would fly off the handle about things that didn't need to be addressed in such an aggressive manner. So I was at this point, we broke up. I left town immediately with my girlfriend at the time. We moved out west, and I was like done with music, done. And eventually I got sucked into Terror, which is a whole nother story. But I didn't talk to Matt or Joe for about 15 years or more. And, Jesse and Scott Sprigg, I stayed in good contact with. But World Be Free played in Buffalo with Judge, and everyone from Buried Alive was there. And this was the first time
I
had
seen
seen those two. Yeah, it was really cool. And we ended up in the basement of the venue, just Buried Alive dudes. And, I think there was some, man, this is stupid that we're not friends. I'm sorry I was such a dick. This is crazy. And, drinks were flowing and drugs were flowing. And by the end of the night, hatchets were buried. Is that a term? Bury the hatchet?
Yes, yeah,
okay.
you could see
Hatchets were buried. And, I had gotten some offers over the years, like, hey, would Buried Alive want to play this fest? And I was like, nah. Like, I didn't even talk to these people. And then when that happened, I think we all just kind of said, if the time's right and we feel like it, let's do it. And Joe Hardcore had asked us a couple years to do it. And I think I let him know, like, hey, maybe it's possible. whenever this was next, I think 2017. He asked us, I asked everyone, we agreed to do it. We did the show. We played a couple other shows. Those guys in Buffalo wrote some music, and I think they wrote like 6 or 7 songs and only got to record 2 of them. And that's just because everyone has kids, not me, but everyone has kids, everyone has jobs. It's not everyone's priority. And the same reason we broke up with some headbutting, we still, I don't want to say we butt heads now, but we're still just kind of have different ideas of what the band should be and stuff.
Sure.
And it's not even worth it to like try to force the issue. So we got 2 songs out of it, and I'm glad we got to do it.
Fuck yeah, man. That's rad. Full circle moment too. And Terror, man. It's funny that you're like, oh, I got sucked into it. Who knew that like the biggest thing that you would ever do was coming up for you? How funny that should work out. And I wonder, it's like, especially in hardcore, like who do you even think to yourself that you're going to be doing this for as long as you're doing it? You know what I mean?
Never. I never did. I still never at all. I mean, when Terror started, I could tell that, I don't want to say it was something special. I could just tell that there was a really good chemistry with the songwriting. And then when we played a show, I could tell, like, I guess I'm trying to say, I could tell there was something special to it. But I never thought in a million years we'd put out fucking 10 albums and tour the world for 20 years and all this. I never, ever, ever would have thought that.
When before Terror became what you do for a living, what were you, if you don't mind me asking, like what were you doing like professionally?
Telemarketing.
Yeah.
I telemarketed. I lived in Arizona for like maybe 6 months, and I was telemarketing there. So when I moved to LA to do the Terror, Todd Jones, our original guitarist, got me a job. He worked at this Countrywide Home Loans. He worked in like sort of the computer type shit, stuff I don't even know about. But he got me a job like doing cold calls there. So it was just like bullshit.
God, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Scott Vogel from Terror. So how did Terror even come to be? Because you moved to Los Angeles. I'm guessing you know some people out there because of the scene, because that's how it works. You tour, you meet people who come to Buffalo, and it's this incestuous thing. But like, how did Terror even like come to become a band?
Like I said, I was in Arizona, and I was figuring out with my girlfriend at the time. We knew we wanted to move in California, but we didn't know if it was going to be San Francisco, San Diego, or LA. So we were kind of living with my friend and visiting these places, and I was done. I was like, every band I'm in breaks up. I put all this into it. I'm fucking done. Like, I don't want to do a band again. And it's funny because Larry becomes a key component in this. So when we visited LA, we stayed at Dave Mandel's house from Indecision Records, and Larry was his roommate. And he gave me a cassette and said, I think you're going to really like these 2 bands. One was Carry On, a Lifeless Plague, and the other side, which is funny because Jordan's in Terror now, was the No Warning 7-inch. And he gave me these 2 things, and I started listening to them, and I was blown away. Like, I had seen Carry On back when I was in Buffalo and Toronto, but they were like just starting. And, I remember them covering Cro-Mags, and I really kind of forgot about them. And I never heard of Carry On. And I got this tape, and I was blown away. And literally, let's say a month later, I got a phone call on my answering machine. It was John LaCroix from 10 Yard Fight. And he said, hey, Scott, I heard you're moving to LA. I started this new band with the drummer and guitarist of Carry On because they just broke up, and we want you to sing. And I was like, no.
Amazing. Hardcore wouldn't let you go, man.
Yeah, but I couldn't resist, so I drove to LA and met those guys. Mr. LaCroix, who I haven't seen in a while, he didn't show up. He started Terror, but never showed up to Terror. And so me, Nick, and Todd, I walked in, saw these guys play. It was perfect hardcore for what I was into. We went and hung out. I met them. They were definitely younger than me. and they were just, they weren't ultra uptight PC. They just wanted to weigh some things out, and we had a good time. And I said, all right. I went back to my girl at the time and said, if you're down, let's move to LA, and I'm going to do this band. And she did let me, and here we are, 20 years later.
Good thing you followed your instincts, man. And this is a great comment.
Or maybe not a good thing.
I mean, hey, look, I think this is a great comment that we just got from King Stakes. A huge reason, and I agree with this person, by the way, a huge reason why the current Los Angeles hardcore scene is arguably at the best right now, with Section Hate, Zibalba, Cutthroat, Count Time, Take Offense, etc., is due to Terror's momentum. Yeah, there you go. Obviously, you guys really did a lot for the Los Angeles hardcore scene. I stylistically, just since we're talking about the early days and you guys kind of coming into your sound, personally, I heard, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know what you guys were going for at the time, if it was talked about, but I obviously hear some of the New York hardcore stuff in there. It goes without saying. But what's interesting to me is that you guys would have songs with some clean guitars once in a while, and obviously solos, which is, I love solos in hardcore, and that's missing from a lot of stuff. And I hear that like almost like a Suicidal Tendencies West Coast influence. Is that all kind of accurate to say with what you guys were going for when the band started?
I would say when it started, it was kind of like this perfect storm of me from the East Coast. My major influences in my brain were like Marauder, Madball, Death Threat. That's like Stigmata. But of course, I grew up on Youth of Today, Chain of Strength, Split Lip, all sorts of things. And then I'm coming to the West Coast, and Todd and Nick are more, I don't want to speak for them, but a little more of like the Striking Distance, Floor Punch, 97A. Like I remember some of the stickers and shirts they would wear. And they knew a lot of more people on the East Coast. I knew more people on the West Coast. And it was kind of this converging of, I'm a little older, so I know a little older people, they're a little younger. And it just smashed somewhere in the middle of all of that. I think the suicidal vibe came a little bit later, maybe when Todd left the band after One with the Underdogs, Always the Hard Way. People might not know, but our drummer Nick wrote all of that, and that came in a little more crossover, a little more suicidal,
yeah, it's that crossover,
a little more leeway, and now we're somewhere in the middle. Now we have Jordan that helps write stuff, and he's from No Warning, so he brings in his whole thing, and yeah, who knows? Now
it's awesome, man. We should give a shout out. Lee Spielman, from the lead singer of Trash Talk, is in the house, and he just wanted to say Scott Vogel is one of the top 10 frontmen of all time. So there you go.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you, Lee. I hope you're well.
Yeah, man. We have about 12 minutes left. I had a feeling this was going to breeze by. It's crazy about Terror is the debut record, One of the Underdogs, and obviously I got this from your Wikipedia because I'm about to quote a number here, but it sold 40,000 records out of the gate. That's at the time. It's sold many records since then. What do you attribute to the band's immediate popularity? Do you think? I mean, I'm guessing it obviously didn't hurt to have ex-members of Slugfest and Despair and Carry On and all that. Trust Kill was popular at the time with 40,000 records. How do you even explain that? You must have been like, holy shit.
Yeah, that's really cool because we don't sell 40,000 records anymore. But well, that's one thing. People actually bought records back then. Trust Kill was really working for all his bands and believed in us and got us on some really cool tours and would give us tour support. And more than anything, we just didn't give a fuck. We would play, I guess, open-mindedness. We would play with any band, anytime. There's a lot of bands that are like our style. Am I back?
Yeah, you're back. You're back. You're back.
Sorry. So, sorry. Maybe someone's got to teach me how to turn that off next time. So we were very open-minded to play with anybody at any time. One month we'd be on tour with Blood for Blood. The next month we'd be on tour with 18 Visions. You know, we just wanted to play to anyone, anytime. We didn't care. You know, obviously you need to get by, but we did 2-3 years of touring, just getting paid $100 and just saying it's gonna work out. So it just, you can, if we're, you know, I don't really talk about record sales too much, but since you brought it up,
it's interesting.
If you're gonna sell records, you gotta spread your wings and play to different people. So if you know, there's some bands that would get asked to go on tour with 18 Visions and be like, oh, they're not our scene, we're not doing that. We're like, fuck yeah, we'd love to play to your fan base. Let's go do this. So it was maybe open-mindedness, and really, you know, we were sleeping in a van over. We started so many tours on the East Coast, you know, where you would just I just feel like Philly. We started so many tours at Philly, and I'd be like, all right, let's start driving now. We'll be there in 3 days, and we'll be $2,000 in the hole from gas, and we're all gonna already want to fucking smash our head through a wall because we just drove 3 days straight. We would do that all the time. So I guess it's just.
I mean, you guys paved the way, honestly, because when you look at like the hardcore movement as a whole, where you guys kind of come in, I think is the same kind of time period that you get your Hatebreeds and your Madballs, even though, like, you know, you were in other bands before that, and they might have started earlier, but like these bands that I mentioned from the 90s, Madball, Hatebreed, Terror, you guys kind of kept working at it and never stopped. You know, you're here 20 years later, you put out, you know, an obscene amount of videos and full lengths and toured with everybody. And that's not common. There's only a few hardcore bands today that can say that they're doing the kind of things that you guys are doing, playing these huge festivals, sharing stages with non-hardcore bands. And like you said, Sick of It All too, sorry. But they're from the 80s. So but you get my point. It's the hard work that you put in and you stick with it. Keepers of Faith is the fan favorite. That's my favorite. And You're Caught is my favorite track from that album. So that's my favorite one. Where we go from here? So what's your secret for keeping a band going for 20 years, man?
I don't always live by this rule, but stop being a fucking asshole to your band. I mean, a lot of my bands broke up because I was just, like I said, a hothead, and I remember a time when, like, if we were driving to a show and we got a flat tire, I would be freaking out, like, oh my God, if we miss the show in New Orleans, our whole life is gonna end. And I would just like create this stress for everybody. It's like, dude, our tire is already flat. Shut the fuck up.
Right.
And now I'm like, if we miss the show, it's gonna be okay. So it's just like, let the stress go and don't be a dick. You know, definitely. Sometimes I'm over opinionated and think I'm always right, and just like really, really pushing. And these are things that I've had to be told by people, like, dude, if you don't calm down, I don't want to do this anymore. And sometimes you're like, man, this is my good friend saying this to me, and I better like take it to heart. So I think it's that, just kind of relaxing, and like the nice things you just said about us, being appreciative of it. Like, it's a lot of hard work, and it's, you know, there's a lot of bad side to it. Like, my body's fucked up, and it's ruined relationships and stuff. But being super lucky, I've been to Japan so many times, Australia so many times, South America, all these places. So being appreciative, not being a dick, and you know, I think for some bands, you'll hear them always say, don't write the same record twice, which if that's what's for you, that's cool. I'm kind of the guy in Terror, when these guys write outside the box, I'll kind of reel it back in. So I'm always kind of like, we're Terror, we do a certain thing good, and I want to, you know, I want it to be different, but not too different. So
yeah,
hats off to anyone that wants to write a totally outside the box record, and that's what works for them. But for me, I kind of think for us, it's like knowing you're going to get in your face aggressive hardcore with some lyrics that are hopefully impactful and you can relate to. I think that's, and you know, no gimmick. Like what I'm wearing right now, I could go on stage right now. We don't have a costume or anything, So I
Yeah.
think that's kind of what works for us. And also too, like, don't lose touch. Like, one thing that's important to Terror, we never lost touch with the current hardcore scene. I'm always still buying demos, not because it's a job, but I love getting new demos, new zines. We always I always go to shows when I'm at home, just checking out bands, because this is really important to me. And whenever we come across a band we like, the people or the music, we're always trying to look out for them and take them on tours with us and do whatever we can for them. So
Yeah, it's a scene, man. You know, it's what keeps it going when you got the success that you have. You know, it's like someone said earlier, you guys really did a lot for what is now the up and comers. So you know, there's a lot to be said there for the advice that you're giving to those kids too, as they continue and gain success. I mean, a lot of these bands are getting really big now too. Zababla is getting really big. You know, they've been big for a bit. So it's cool, man. We're running out of time here, and I'm bummed because I had so much. We're gonna get kicked off by Instagram. That's what happens.
so we're just gonna, when it kicks off, I can go back inside.
Yes.
That's okay. I made chili for dinner. It's on the stove simmering, so my girlfriend will be happy.
Okay. Well, we won't take too much of your time.
I'll wait till the phone explodes, and then I'll go have a chili party.
And well, everybody watching, I just want you all to know that if you tuned in too late, this whole episode is going to be available with it. You know, as soon as this ends, it'll be available right here on the St. Vitus Instagram channel, and you could watch it from the beginning if you missed it. And it'll be on YouTube within the next week or so. But let's see. We should just give some shout outs and a plug right now. Again, World Be Free, the new record. The pre-orders are available today through Revelation Records and Revolver Magazine. What is the name of the record and when is it coming out?
One Time for Unity is the name, and I think everyone needs a little bit of positivity in their lives right now. I know I do. I think it's like November 24th, but don't quote me on that.
Okay, so, well, yeah, I mean, you can pre-order it now. It'll come in the mail. And like I said, you could get it from Revelation. And then Terror, what's going on? Does Terror have anything new in the works? The last album was in 2018. Is there anything you could fill us in on that's happening?
We are writing new shit right now, and when the time is right, we will get all that info out. Right now, we're just figuring stuff out. So, but me, these bugs love me. Me, Nick, and Martine are all living in LA, so we get together, and we got some cool things in the work. I'll leave it at that.
Awesome, man. Any final comments or shout outs that you want to mention before we say goodbye?
No, thanks for having me. Thanks for all these nice people that tuned in, and everyone had some nice words. I appreciate that, and that's all I got, my friend. That's all I got.
Hell yeah, man. Well, people definitely are stoked. We got people talking about how they've been pre-ordering the new World Be Free, and they like the new single. And it looks like Sammy Siegler, shout out to Sammy Siegler. World Be Free drops November 13th. And thanks for hooking me up here.
See,
hell yeah.
Don't ask me, ask Sammy. That guy's smart.
Yeah, man. He said, shout me out, bro. We got you, Sammy. We're shouting you out. All right, cool, man. Well, I want you to go enjoy your chili. I don't want to keep you too long. And thanks for doing this.
Cool. Have a great night, everybody.
All right. Peace out, man. Bye. Take care, Scott. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. And if you want to watch the whole episode from start to finish, you can watch it on the St. Vitus Instagram. It'll be up in just a matter of minutes. And that's it. Thank you so much. Take care. Stay safe.